What do we have here? Oh, how the cookie crumbles. Oh, hey, just didn't know you were there. I was thinking out loud just a few seconds ago before I realized that I was recording. I'm all pretending right now. But Bitcoin, what are we doing with Bitcoin here? Now I'm on the weekly chart, and there's a lot of comparisons. There are a lot of comparisons between now and what we saw last week and what we saw in April, from February, January to April of 2025. And even it's the same playbook in many ways. It's the same narrative. It's the same, oh no, Trump, tariffs. That's kind of the trigger for both of these things. That sent Bitcoin down from 108 to 74, and recently from 126 down to 103. I'm not going to count the different wicks on the different exchanges for that big liquidation day that happened 10 days ago. So same playbook, and I find myself doing the same thing. And what is that thing? Well, that thing is that I am in a position where I am drawing two lines in the sand. If we close on a weekly candle above one line, then it's game on. Let's go. Let's get to $155,000 Bitcoin. Let's hopefully see some kind of big drop in Bitcoin dominance, which can we envision something like that? I want to envision something like that with you. But what's the other line in the sand? The other line in the sand is the 50-week moving average, just like it was in March and April of this year. The 50-week moving average, this green line. I know it's thin. You might not be able to see it all that well. Squint a little bit. But the green line, the 50-week SMA, is that bottom line in the sand. And you can see I've talked about this already, but we held it in August. We wicked below for sure. We held it in August. We held it in September. We held it in April. And will we hold it this time? Will we get down to it this time? Because we haven't gotten down to it yet. So will we get down to it this time? Maybe, maybe not. But let's just, whatever. Let's, what's the line in the sand to the upside? It is the golden pocket from swing high to swing low. And should I think I should. I'm actually going to change this a little bit. I'm going to do it from the peak, 126 and change, that we saw in early October. And so then I'll have to move this little yellow bubble up a little bit. And so, okay, very, very important to see here. Very important to see here. The level, the line in the sand that I was talking about, I talked about $95,000 Bitcoin. That was that 618, 95 and change. Now, let's zoom in on this on the daily, because it's a lot easier to see on the daily. Now, on the daily chart, we got rejected multiple times at the 618 retrace. It was 95 and change. This was in April, end of April. Bitcoin bounced up. It made its way higher, got rejected at the 618 retrace. It took, after the first touch, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days to break through, and then got rejected at the 0.66. It got rejected at the 702, and then dumped a little bit, and then fought some more. So this is 2 weeks of fighting here. And then when it was game over in a big way. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, the line in the sand has been crossed in a major way. We're probably on our way to new all-time highs. Very likely on our way to new all-time highs. And it was around that same time that my perspective with the stock market changed as well. That it was, okay, hey, we're putting in a V-shaped recovery. Oh my goodness. Okay, I am going to be a bull in the stock market. And so that's what we got. That's what we got, and here we are now. Let me actually stay on the daily here. So here we are now. What's the thing? What's the zone here? It is between the 618, 117,000 and change, to 119,000 and change. Just think, for the sake of simplicity, 117.5 to 119.5. 117.5, there's going to be a battle if we get up there. I think we're going to get up there for sure. Or not, I mean, I'm never going to say for sure, not 100% sure, but I think we're going to get up there. So just, I'm telling you, there is going to be a battle at this zone. The 618, the 0.66, the 702, the golden pocket. There's going to be a battle there. Now, going back to April and May, I shared this chart last week. Did you see it? I made a short and I covered it in a video, a TikTok video. Not a TikTok video, a long form YouTube video where I shared this chart talking about Bitcoin funding being negative. And so during this time from March to April, Bitcoin funding was negative. People were shorting Bitcoin. And then what you would see on that chart, if I were to pull it up right now, is that when we got to this level, $95,000, $97,000 Bitcoin, funding actually went even more negative for Bitcoin. Because what's the thought of a trader, somebody who has a perspective, it's over. You know, that this is just a retrace. It's a dead cat bounce. We're not putting in a new all-time highs. Bitcoin's going down to the end of 2025. This is the level that they would be looking for. This is the level where, you know, they might short a little bit down here, but they want to see Bitcoin. You know, what does RSI look like? RSI getting near overbought. MACD histogram getting a little extended there. Volume not really showing much strength. So what do? At that time, you open a short on Bitcoin thinking it's going to go down and put in an even lower low, that we're going to go into a bear market. And that's the time. That is logically the time when traders should short Bitcoin. Not down here, but on that move up, people are getting excited. Oh, Bitcoin's back on. We're going to see $100,000. And then boom, it dumps, except this time it didn't dump. It didn't at all. And so, all right, tariff fears again. You know, we peaked, Bitcoin peaked. Donald Trump announced the tariffs, and then the exchanges rug pulled us. Binance, just not only Binance, but Binance was the worst offender. And here we go again. Okay, when do traders want to open shorts on Bitcoin? They want to open shorts right up here. Probably even just the 618, 117 and change, 117.5, 117.6. They want to short Bitcoin here. If we can break through that, it's game on. It's game on for Bitcoin, but it might even more so be game on for altcoins, in that we would have something kinda, not entirely, looking like a 4-year cycle. So that's the level we have to pay attention to. So let's dream a little bit. Let me just kind of dream out loud a little bit. We have Bitcoin dominance here. Bitcoin dominance looks bullish right now. Let's just say it for how it is. Bitcoin dominance looks bullish. USDT dominance looks bullish. What could cause this whole thing, which I do think still we're in a downtrend on Bitcoin dominance, but what would cause this whole thing to just kind of, you know, all right, the lower high is confirmed. Let's go lower now. What would do that? Well, could it be that the Federal Reserve will end quantitative tightening at their next Fed meeting? Could that be the catalyst for not alt season? I'm sorry. The stars are not aligned. But for an altcoin moment better than November and December of last year. It's possible. Let's see Bitcoin rip. Let's see it get to 130, 140, 150, whatever. Let's see Bitcoin dominance dump, get down under 50, and that's going to be some pretty exciting times. That's not going to be May of 2021 or January of 2018, but that can be something. And I think a lot of you at this time would be willing to take that. All right, so Federal Reserve, 98.9% chance that they were going to cut rates by 25 basis points at their October 29th meeting. I thought it was October 30th. I think it is. I think it ends on October 30th. So October 29th meeting. October 29th, not October 3rd. October 29th, okay. So they are cutting rates 25 basis points. You could bet $100 on Polymarket and I think get $107 if you bet on the Federal Reserve cutting by 25 basis points. You know what? They're most likely going to cut 25 basis points. Here's the thing that kind of had me pause there. was we haven't gotten any unemployment reports. We're getting CPI on Friday, even though the government is still shut down. So that's going to be interesting. But if there's some kind of wrench in there, maybe this is the time you don't bet to get your $7 out of your $100 bet. But they're going to cut rates. And then the only other question is, Jerome Powell hinted that, no, he didn't hint. He said quantitative tightening is coming to an end. Now, again, I need to be clear. That doesn't mean that quantitative easing is beginning, but that does mean that quantitative tightening is ending. Will it end this Fed meeting? Or will it be the December 10th Fed meeting or January 28th? I wouldn't be surprised. He's already said it. I wouldn't be surprised if quantitative tightening officially ends this Fed meeting. So could we have 2 months where it's just absolute pandemonium, or not absolute? Let's say 2021 was absolute pandemonium, like major pandemonium. Could it be? Could we dream together a little bit and get out of this hellhole that has been crypto in 2025? It's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it's possible. Especially like I'm still a major bull on the stock market right now. I think we still have some time. So can crypto just please, can the Russell 2000 please break out? Now, it is still in all-time high territory from 2021, but can it break the 4.236 extension here? That would be nice. That's a clear level of resistance. But the NASDAQ, the S&P 500 all had some resistance at the 4.236 from the great financial crisis for the S&P and the dot-com bust from the NASDAQ. They broke through just fine. So can the Russell 2000 do the same thing? I think so. So can we be hopeful for a bullish fourth quarter, for a good fourth quarter, for a fourth quarter that you don't get sucked in to this idea that these altcoins that the Moon Boys are saying are going to do a 1,000x? That is not happening. It is not happening. But could we be hopeful for some gains? I believe we can, if this moment can, what's the word? Can culminate. How about that? Can culminate into something that would give us some gains. There's reasons to be hopeful. All right. So regardless of where we go from here, I want to tell you I am going to make a video this week based somewhat off of this post on X, just pointing out the fact which so many people are still ignoring, including people who have been very on point this cycle, that the dynamics of this cycle are entirely flipped. And so should we be really expecting the bear market that we have had in the past when we haven't really had the bull market that we've had in the past? Maybe there's some opportunity for some a little bit more complex thinking here. I say that in this post. And let me read just the first part here. Liquidity peaked in Q4 2021. Liquidity peaked and was trending downward. The business cycle peaked and was trending downward. Rates were low and were trending upward. Bearish. All of this is bearish. QE was nearing an end. Bearish. That was the environment where Bitcoin and the altcoin market cap peaked. Q4 2025, 4 years later, liquidity has bottomed and is trending upward. Bullish. The business cycle has bottomed and is trending upward. Bullish. Rates have peaked and are trending downward. I'm not going to say bullish on that. That's the elephant in the room, which I'm going to cover in my video this week. And QT is nearing an end, bullish for altcoins. So should we still be of this 4-year cycle nonsense mindset? And let me not call it nonsense, but should we still be of this 4-year cycle mindset? I think there's a lot of potential for 2026 to really catch people off guard. And so I want to lay out a bit of a game plan and a bit of my expectations for 2026. And I'm going to give you a spoiler alert here. It is, I think things will go according to how people expect them to go. And then the market is going to zig in a major way when everyone's expecting it to zag. When's the last time that happened? Remember, end of 2024, everyone was screaming from the rooftops, 2025 is going to make all your wildest dreams come true. You're going to build a home in the Maldives. I'm getting a phone call. All right. I'm going to respond to that phone call later. And what happened? The market in the last couple months of 2024 were certainly looking like that. And then the market zigged when everyone was expecting it to zag. Could the same thing happen, but in the reverse? That's what we have potentially for 2025. All right, I do need to respond to this phone call, so I'll see you in another video. Hit the subscribe button. Peace.